Hello, and welcome along to my first stream in a little while. For those of you that weren't following along, I was out at ChefConf last week in Seattle, so I obviously wasn't able to stream on my normal sort of schedule, so apologies about that, but back now. Hello, Maurice, in the chat room. Glad to have you with me. So today is a lunchtime stream, so I'm just going to jump straight into it. Am I able to cook now? No, not at all. Although it's starting to be even more of a running joke now that I do food-related projects. So I now am a contributor to Chocolatey, Cake, and I can now say that I am a contributor to Chef, who has a chocolatey cookbook available in the supermarket that is Chef. So it's all kind of coming together in a nice sort of food-related ensemble. So yeah, less said about that, the better, I think. So yeah, on that note, that is one of the things that I did do while I was ChefConf. I submitted a pull request into Chef to improve the support for Chocolatey within Chef, and that will go out in the next release of Chef Client, which I believe will be the start of January. So Monday night stream, assuming there are no hiccups, Monday night stream will be more hacking on the Chef Client to add more support for Chocolatey into the Chef Client. So that I'll be exercising some Ruby code again, and that's what I'll be doing on Monday night stream. So hopefully you'll be able to join me for that. I know nothing about Ruby. I'll be honest. The code I put in to the PR that I just did was kind of just copying and pasting what was done before, and it seemed to work. So the Tim, one of the maintainers of the Chef Infra code, had a look at it and said that it was all good. So anyway, back to what we're talking about today. So today I'm going to continue looking at this export command and try and get this finalized. So after the last session that we did, we got to the point where it was functional. Now the problem though was that this part up here, to whether or not to include version numbers or not, wasn't being facilitated, because the way that we're now serializing the class, or rather the instance of the class is, there's no way to control that. Now, after the stream last week, I went Googling and I landed on a Stack Overflow post, specifically from a person called, maybe let's just bring it up. So I think what's in the Stack Overflow post is going to help us. So let me grab this URL I've got here, and let's throw this into Chrome. That's slowly opening on my machine. Let's stop all these things. Let's close all of these. What I should say while I'm doing this is a thank you to Maurice. Maurice mentioned that there was quite several. Oh no. Okay, we'll come back to that. Interesting. Not sure what to say about it. So the thank you was to say thank you to Maurice for telling me about numerous Windows 10 updates that have happened. So before coming on stream, I updated everything to include those things on both my host machine and the VM itself that I'm running on up here. Maurice is saying, I'm seeing a delay in the video. Your mouth moves like 1 second after the audio. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm hoping that's just a Twitch thing, and nothing to do with the recording, but everything seems good my end. I'm not seeing anything obviously saying that I'm dropping frames or anything. So let's... Surly Dev's saying you are synced at the moment, so maybe it's just something on your end, Maurice, maybe something to check. So anyway, what I was wanting to look at was what this Thomas... I'm not even going to try the second name. What Thomas is saying here. Thomas is saying... Anyone who's pausing? Okay. What Thomas is saying is that there is a convention in the XML serializer, which if you create a method called should serialize and then the name of the property, then the XML serializer should respect the value that's returned from that property. So this seemed like something I might be able to use. So the class that I'm wanting to serialize or control the serialization of is this one. Now, what this gentleman on Stack Overflow is saying is, if I were to create a function at the bottom here called, now was that private or was it? It is public. So public bool should serialize, and then the property name version. If I just in there put return false at the minute, now the convention is that it's the name of the method is should serialize and then the name of the property. So in theory, if I do this, having made no other changes, then the version property of that XML file, or rather the version property of the instances of that class shouldn't be serialized to the XML file. So if we go back over to here where we were practicing the export, so let's just see what we've got in ctemp at the minute. So let's go over here and go ctemp. So we've got a bunch of them. So let's just delete all of these ones. And let's run this thing again. And see what happens. Because if this works, then I should be able to make use of that. And I should be able to control that when I'm instantiating the classes. I will set a property which will then be returned from that function. So let's see what happens. I'm expecting that breakpoint to get hit. So let's see. Let's have a look. Drum roll. Anyone? Ooh, look at that. So that method is called. So that there's some convention in the XML serializer that is being respected here. So this should be hit multiple times. And it'll be hit multiple times for every instance of the class that we've got that's being serialized. So let's take that off again and let it finish, which it did. And then if we go and look at this XML file that's generated here and open that up, then in theory, the version property is not there. Look at that. So then there's a question of whether I want to include all of these other things as well, because those things are not being set just now. So let's maybe, because at the minute, the reason I'm hesitating is that the only place that those properties are used at the minute is when we bring the packages.config file into Chocolatey. So the methods that I'm talking about putting into play here won't affect that because it's the deserialization, not the serialization. So if I were to just override the creation of all of these properties and create methods for all of those, then we could further restrict what goes into there. So let's go ahead and do that. So Bruce, I'm really not sure what to say. If it's working for Surly Dev, I'm going to say that it's something on your side. And we've just been joined by Jeffrey Huntley. Look at that. Hey Jeff, how's it going? We are just talking about how I am hacking on some Chocolatey code, and we're doing XML serialization for the win. And I'm trying to control what the output of that XML file looks like without adversely affecting other parts of Chocolatey. So what we've found is, thanks to this Stack Overflow post here from Thomas, is that I can use a method like this to control additional serialization and whether it happens or not on a property. So what I'm thinking about is I'm going to add one of these methods for all of the properties that I'm not interested in. So for example, I'm going to say public bool should serialize. I'll maybe stop there, and then I'll just put the property in, and I'm going to say return false. This feels a little bit kludgy, but also it should work. Comment there from Jeff. Not bad. Have an idea for a new Cake plugin, cake.precheck. It looks at Visual Studio for Windows payloads and checks if they are installed. If not, error. Also offer option to install them, so kind of like a bootstrapper. It looks at Visual Studio for Windows and checks if they are installed. As in, so just to take a slight deviation, so what you're saying is this add-in would check to see if things are installed, Visual Studio dependencies. So we're talking things like you could check to see if specific versions of Visual Studio are installed, or build MS Build tools. Is that what we're talking about? Correct, like Node.js payload or Win SDK. I see what you're saying. So I mean, okay. So most, okay. So most build scripts that I create tend to download and install those tools as part of the execution of that. But what you're saying is to, rather than attempt the installation each build, to just check to see if they're there, and if they're not there, fail. I could see how that could work. Certainly something to think about. Not a terrible idea, I don't think. Yeah, no, I see where you're going. Pre-check. I could see how that could work. Is that something that you are going to be actively working on, or are you looking for some help from other people on that? So I'm going to put this into here, install arguments. What other properties are here? There is a package parameters, and I'm going to put that in here. Package parameters. Apply package parameters to dependencies is another property. And then apply install arguments to dependencies. I'm going to put that here. Force x86. I'm going to put in here. Allow multiple versions. I'm just going to go in there. How many more have I got? Allow multiple versions, ignore dependencies, and disabled. So I need one more. Copy this, and then I'll come back to chat room. Let's do ignore dependencies here. And then I'm going to put this on here and say disabled. So they're all returning false. If I just run this again now, then what we should see is that this packages.config file will get replaced or moved to a .backup, and then another one will go into there. And this new one, significantly smaller, which is good. If we go back to Visual Studio Code and have a look at what's in here, then this is more like what we actually want. This is exporting now, or rather, this is exporting via serialization, much more of the things that we're actually interested in, which is just the ID and hopefully the version number. So Jeff in the chat room is saying, I've been thinking about doing it myself today, but as always, up for grabs. If folks want to get involved in open source and we're after ideas, absolutely. Downloading and installing automatically is kind of rude when contributors download and clone. So yes, no, that's a very valid point, and that is something that I am conscious of. I've got at least one open source project that relies on Chocolatey to install a tool. Now, I haven't went to the step to actually force, strong word, to actually install Chocolatey as part of the build process. Mainly because I can rely on Chocolatey being installed in AppVeyor, which is what I use by default, but it would also be available by default on Azure DevOps, as an example. So the build on any machine that doesn't have Chocolatey installed will fail, but it will fail with an error message saying can't find Chocolatey. So that's kind of what you're speaking about there. It could be a pre-check, which would be to check to see. So you would define ahead of time what your requirements are, and then you could say this build will fail because of these missing requirements, and then offer to install them. I totally see where you're going with that. Yeah, absolutely. Doctor, I'm not familiar with. I feel like I should be, though. I'm going to pick this up and put this in here. Run Flutter Doctor. From a console window, which is Flutter directory, see if there are any platform dependencies. Interesting. So they would define what those dependencies are, and then Doctor would tell you whether they're met or not. I like it. I think that would be a great addition to Cake. Absolutely. Yeah, I like it. I think you should go and build it. Do it on a stream. That's what you should do. Film yourself doing it and put it out on a stream. Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea, Jeffrey. Yeah, absolutely. If you want to do that under Cake Contrib, let me know. I can create a repo for you and give you permissions to that if you wanted to do that there, or if you wanted to do it elsewhere. That's fine too. So Matthias has just jumped in as well. If you could, like, .NET Core SDK could install Chocolatey within repo, but that could be middle ground as it is complete the system. So that's a larger discussion, Matthias. Typically, in a CI environment, the only aspect of Chocolatey that we're using is ChocoPack and potentially a ChocoPush. So you're not using any of the core functionality of Chocolatey. So one of the things that's been on my list of things to do for a long, long time is to create a stripped-down version of Chocolatey that's really Chocolatey for continuous integration. And it's literally just the pack and the push commands. So it wouldn't have or require all of the functionality that Chocolatey itself needs. Now, that hasn't happened yet, but it could. There's nothing to stop it happening. I just need to build it, and I haven't done it yet. But that's kind of where my thinking is around that one. Okay, so with all of those methods in place, getting back to this export command, it's looking much more like what I want it to. So all I need to do is now be able to flip that bit based on whether we pass in that argument to Chocolatey to include those version numbers or not. So right now I'm hard coding this. So I want to return this based on a property. So let's create another property here, which is going to be similarly named, but I'm going to XML ignore it so that it itself doesn't get serialized. And I'm going to say property, and it's going to be a Boolean, and I'm going to say, I kind of want it to be called should serialize version, but I can't do that. So let's call it, maybe it's not going to work. Let's call it, let's just call it serialize version. Right, and then this is going to be return the value of that, and it's going to be should serialize, return serialized version, right? Include version, well, it works too. Let's not do it that way. Let's do it properly, shall we? Serialize, and let's call it include version. Okay, and then what we need to do is go back to our actual export command, and where we were doing this, we can no longer do it at the highest level, which is what we were doing there. We'll need to do it when we're actually creating the new instance. So in here, we're going to say package config file. Packages, don't like the name of that just now. Packages.config file. Is going to be include version is going to be equal to configuration dot export command dot include version numbers. You're doing that. Okay, so that means we no longer we need to think about the encoding. That's something we need to come back to. So let's put a to-do up here, actually. To-do. Think about encoding of generated file. Right now, XML serializer doesn't support setting of the encoding used for file. So that was that note there. So it sounds like Maurice is back. So what was the problem, Maurice, with your stream not working properly? Out of interest. So I'm going to remove all this commented code that I had before, because we don't need that anymore. Love deleting code. Let's take this out. Oh, there's some more. And let's put this back here. Okay, so with that in play, if I... Oh no, which way around is it? Include version numbers. Include version numbers is going to be false by default, and that's going to be equal to that, which is false by default. So if I run this again, then in theory, what's in Visual Studio Code shouldn't change. It should just have the ID of the package. Correct? Correct. Now, if I run that command differently, though, with include version numbers, I can spell it properly. What? I don't know what you're talking about, Maurice. Matthias, I really don't. Oh, look at that. Jeffrey subscribed with Twitch Prime. Thank you very much, Jeffrey. I appreciate the subscription. I haven't, you will have noticed that I've not got any pop-ups or lightning bolts or anything like that when something like that happens. That's on my list of things to do as well. But I haven't done it yet. Look. So, now we have version numbers appearing here as well. So this is now functioning the way I want it to. So we're not serializing all the properties of that class. We have control over which ones we're serializing. And yes, thanks, Matthias. It's on my list. I genuinely don't know. I genuinely don't know how to do it. I don't. The whole Streamlabs thing, setting things up, I haven't looked into it. I know a lot of people do it, and I need to do it. I've actually asked someone who I know knows how to do it to come on and do it as a stream. So they would basically the content of that stream would be to go through and set up all of those notifications. And I would love to do that, but I've not heard back from her yet as to when that might happen. So it's on my list. And yes, just look at the image. Okay, so hold on. Let's copy it to clipboard, and then let's put this in here and see what Maurice's problem was. Let's have a look. Maurice's problem was... Okay. See what he's done. He's put a post-it note over my face. That's great. I love it. I don't know what to say, Maurice, but thank you. What could go wrong with clicking random links from Maurice? It's all good. And yes, so Matthias, I know that Jeff has got some form of bot for doing a bunch of stuff. And again, that's something else that I want to look into. There's bots for moderating comments in the chat, for letting people know what I'm working on during a stream. There's lots of these kind of surrounding things I want to add into the stream. At the minute, I'm kind of concentrating more on trying to do something useful during the stream, but I would love to add in some of those other things. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I've got a random link now from Jeffrey, so let's just do it. Is this going to be some sort? This is going to be a Rickroll, isn't it? It really is. Isn't it? Let's just see. No, it is. Yep. I thought it might be. But I've also got an ad, so we're not getting the power of the song coming through on the stream just yet. So I'm going to leave it there. Okay, so now that works, there's one other thing that I need to add to this, and I'm surprised that Maurice hasn't mentioned it yet, because it was him that brought it up in another pull request. So if we go and have a look at Chocolatey Choco, and we look for recent pull requests that were... was that a pull request? I wonder. Let's have a look and see through the commits. So we've just added, in this pull request, we're adding a new command into Chocolatey. So one of the things that we want to be able to do is have completions on PowerShell prompt for any for the name of that function, export, and then for any properties that can be passed to that function. So Rob recently fixed the problem to update the tab completion. So if we have a look at this, what's that GitHub star ribbon button? I don't know. What, in GitHub? It's probably because I'm not signed in. Let's go back. Was it Chocolatey Choco that was showing it? It's probably because I'm not signed in, Jeffrey. You probably don't recognize it because yeah, this whole thing here, that's because I'm not signed in. Next to the watch button. What's the GitHub star ribbon button? Was it on YouTube that you're asking about? Oh, this thing here. On source graph. Is that what you're talking about? Yes. It's the whole... I don't really use it because sometimes it doesn't work. But if you were to go to some code... If we go to some code here, console program.cs, then it's an extension that I've added that if I hover over something, then I should get go to definition. So what this source graph claims to be able to do is to provide that functionality on GitHub when I'm browsing it. So I should be able to say go to definition, and then in theory it's indexed the source code and it will take me to that location. So sometimes it doesn't work, but sometimes it does. So I use that. Typically I use that in combination with Octotree. So Octotree doesn't seem to be working just now either. Oh, it's here. So I typically use source graph in combination with Octotree. So Octotree gives me the list of files in the folder structure, so I can see what that is, and then I can navigate in a hierarchy, and then the source graph provides kind of jumping between certain things. So I don't always have source code open in Visual Studio for doing things like that, but the combination of these two things kind of make it doable on a browser. But it doesn't always work, and I think the find references will take you out to source graph. So it gives you kind of their view of the code, and I can see all the references and all that sort of stuff. But I think it's dependent on whether or not source graph have indexed the project that you're interested in. So sometimes I use Refine GitHub, the one that Jeffrey has mentioned there. I also, more and more things are coming directly into GitHub. So there are certain things in Refine GitHub that I really like. So for example, one of the things that was a huge win for me was if I'm on a PR, this is getting off topic now. I'm going to dismiss this big thing because it's really annoying me now. Dismiss. One of the things that I really liked on Refine GitHub was that over here, when you're on a pull request, it would give you a link to the branch that the pull request comes from. But that's now in GitHub itself, so I don't need Refine GitHub for that. You'll also see down here that I've got ZenHub installed. ZenHub is really good, or was really good, for things like moving an issue from one repository to another. But again, unfortunately for ZenHub, I guess. That kind of functionality is being included now in GitHub itself. So I should have a move. I'm not signed in, so it won't let me. But there's a function there in GitHub itself to move an issue from one repository to another. So more and more of these things are coming directly into GitHub proper. So yeah, I'll see if I still need ZenHub or not. I mean, I've been a user of ZenHub for a long time, but more and more of it's just kind of baked in. So, yeah, and as Mateus pointed out, it's a browser add-in. So one of these things up here that I have will be SourceGraph. So both SourceGraph and Octotree are browser plugins. The other one that I use all the time, although certain aspects of it don't work, is Expandinizer. I never know how to pronounce it. Expanderizer, that maximizes the width of the page that is GitHub. So rather than it being a small section of the wasted white space, Expandinizer makes it so that it goes full width, which is really useful. Anyway, so all of this is secondary to what I was hoping to talk about. So let's go back to that. What I was looking at was the ability to have autocomplete for my new command that I've created. So up here, Rob updated the tab completion that is in Chocolatey out of the box because Maurice noticed that some of the commands were missing. Not a problem, Jeffrey. Talk to you later. It's been fun. If you do need any help with Cake Doctor, let me know, and I can get a repository created for you if you need. Transfer issue is nice as it actually moves the issue with conversation. Yes, that's a very good point, and that's one of the things. So that's one of the situations from the outside in. So from ZenHub's point of view, it wasn't able to manipulate the database, which I'm assuming is what was required. So it kind of copied the issue and then recreated the comments, whereas the GitHub move, it moves everything so that all the history is there and everyone who's talking in the thing makes sense. So absolutely. So what Maurice brought up was that some of the commands were missing in the tab completion, and that the file that needs to be changed is this chocolatey tab completion.ps1. So I need to do the same thing in the new export command so that the new export command will be possible to be tab completed. So if we go and find that file, which is in the resources project, so that would be in here, and then I've already forgotten what it was, but it's there, tab completion.ps1. So what we need to look at is we need to have the ability to tab complete the top level export command. So I'm going to assume that all I need to do is add it in with all the other ones. So here we have search, list, info, outdated, upgrade. So these are all the commands. So I'm going to assume that I just need to stick export at the end, because I've never actually played with this file, so I don't actually know how it works. But I'm going to stick export at the end there. And then I need to provide the options that are specific to that export command. So I'm going to say return here. I'm going to say export options. Now there's only one at the minute, but we will include it anyway. If I can get the right key. And it was the option that I thought I would copy and paste it, but I've lost it. So it's the include version numbers, right? And then I need, oh, hold on. Oh no, that's only the pro ones. So let's not do that then. Command options, let's put it down here. Okay. I see what he's doing. I see what's being done here. So we potentially add in. Gotcha. So if I do this then and say export equals include version numbers, and that's a flag, so it doesn't need a property value. No, it doesn't. And then we can say plus all commands, because those are the generic ones that are available to all commands that Chocolatey passes. And that would match what we've said. I just Marisa is saying, just noticed that Rob already added the pre-parameter to the outdated command that I created. I didn't spot that, but I'm going to assume that that was. So which one was it that you the outdated command? So I've maybe got an old version of the code base because it's not there yet. But I'm assuming what you're saying is that on here there would be an additional pre being added into there. Is that what you're saying? Okay. And then there's a bunch of other stuff that happens, but I don't think I need to worry about any of those. I think that's all I need. Yes, I'll need to do a fetch and a rebase to pull those up. And I think that's all I need to do to add the ability to export, to have that appear automatically. So I think that's all I need. So I've added it to the top level list of commands, which was here. And then I've added specifically the command options. So I've added an export with just that single one plus all of the commands that go with it. And cool. So I think then I can save that. So the only thing that's left outstanding with this export command is the encoding. So I'm going to write this down here on my old school bit of paper. Export file encoding. And I'm going to take this to-do comment out of here because I think it's a larger question about how we handle that. Because right now, this XML serialized method, if I go to implementation here, then it doesn't, neither of these methods that is serialized has any sort of concept of encoding. Now, what would need to be defined would be when this XML serializer is created. Then in here, there would be options for controlling the encoding of the file that's generated. But none of that is exposed in the current contract for this serialized method. So it's a much larger question that needs to be answered. So for right now, I'm going to say it's not the responsibility of this pull request, but we would want to come back to this command once that functionality is added. So it will be a separate, that will be a separate addition. But should it do anything else other than... So this is where I get confused. My understanding is that yes, it should be UTF-8 without bomb. Now I say that as though I know what I'm talking about, but I don't. And typically that's where I hand off to Maurice and or Kim, who know more about this than I do. Yes, but look at the code again. Which code? What code? Yeah. Which code? Memory stream, this one here. It had a boolean before memory stream. It had a boolean. Oh, hold on. Should, yeah, but this is not exposed to the calling code, so I can't change that. So I think what needs to happen is that this needs to be changed to include, because right now the generated file, if we look at the generated file, has this, but it shouldn't have the bomb in it. It's the wrong way around, I think, if I recall correctly. I think. I could be completely wrong. It's always true. It should probably, but, well, maybe, but it should probably be exposed up here so that we can control it, is what I'm getting at. So we need to change the API for this interface to allow setting of that, I think is what's needed. You see what I'm saying? That way we won't break anything. And Maurice says I recalled correctly, so it's all good. Right. So, let's have a look at Git extensions and see what we've changed here. I'm going to need to do some rebasing. I'm going to say that all of this... I can't make an omelette without breaking eggs. I think you are absolutely right, Matthias. So this is all the feedback from the... Why was there two of those? Config file settings. Oh, hold on, I've got some commented out code there that I don't actually need, I think. What was this doing? Oh, we were playing with... I remember. We were attempting to control the XML serializer by using the... by deriving it from an interface. But we opted that didn't work. So we can reset those changes. That's the one I'm looking for. We can reset those ones. Container binding, that was required because we were passing in the instance of the XML service for doing the serialization. This is me adding in all of those methods for controlling the serializer. So we're going to need that, but there's a question over whether that using is required. So let's check to see if that using is actually being used, which it's not, so that can come out. That can come out, and then we can refresh this. And then that is me adding the XML serializer there, XML, and there's an instance of it. We added in some more options around the property. Oh, we missed the property. We should go back and fix that. We add that. So we've actually got two properties for the export command. One is the output file, and one is the include version numbers. So we should fix that one too. We should include that one in my expansions. So that here would be, that would probably be the first one. So let's put this in here. And then take that out, put this in. So output directory equals, include version number. All good. Now, why do we have a question mark at the end of all of these? Should I be adding a question mark? Well, looks like we should. Let's put a question mark in there. I would have thought that would have been in the all command. But maybe not. So let's put question mark in there too. Could encoding be global option then, and not responsibility of the export command? Possibly, but depending on what you're doing and depending on the files that are generated. So that serialized method is used by in multiple places in the Chocolatey codebase. Some to generate a package.config file, some to generate other random XML files or text files on the file system. So the knowledge of what the encoding for that file is in the command that's being executed. So I don't think it's an on or off. It's this file should include bomb. This one shouldn't. So I don't think it's I don't think it's at the higher level. I think it would be the responsibility of the command that's generating the file to control what the encoding is. Should be, Maurice saying there should be a what at the end? There should be, why should there be, see, maybe, but this one here doesn't have that. There's an inconsistency there. So do we include it or do we not? I agree it's inconsistent. What to do? I think we will put it in. Let's put it in and then we can take it out if it comes up. I agree it's inconsistent because technically it should probably be that because the recommendation, but I don't know whether that would flow through or the other way around, whichever way the best practices is. It should have all the ticks. But let's put it in. So output file path. Oh, maybe. We should check that. We should definitely fetch and pull that down. So we added that. Currently, no additional arguments. We added in the best practices, which was to enclose those in inner ticks. I'm going to say that I've refreshed that to not include. I thought I took that comment out. Oh, I thought I did. But let's take this out. So that's not included. And this was a refactoring to remove all of the direct XML serialization code we were doing and use the method directly on the XML serializer. So I think these were all the changes that we wanted here. So then it's up to what Chocolatey encoding expects, right? As it's a package config Choco parses. That's correct. Yes. Chocolatey, the intention of this XML file, this packages.config file that is being read, the intention is that we can export the current list of packages and versions that are installed to then allow Chocolatey to replay that with a packages.config file as an input to the install command. So yes, it absolutely depends on what Chocolatey is expecting. But like I'm saying, some of the files that Chocolatey generates, it doesn't then read back again. So there's some guidance around the packages.config file, or more specifically, things like the new spec file that is generated, that the encoding should be a certain way. And if the same XML serializer is used in those ones, then the ability to control and switching on and off is going to be a requirement. And so if it works, you're done. Maybe, but then that's one thing I haven't done yet. I haven't taken this generated XML file, this packages.config file, and replayed it onto another machine yet. I should definitely do that at some point. For now, I'm going to get this merged, this sorted out. So I'm going to say add all of these things, and then this is going to be a lame ass rebase, please commit message, because I'm going to rebase it as soon as I've done it. Integration tests. There are some integration tests for this. However, there's a big however there. So, previously, the Chocolatey codebase was all PowerShell, and it had a bunch of pester tests for doing the integration tests of what it was doing. When Chocolatey switched from being PowerShell based to being C# based, some of those pester tests didn't work anymore. Now, one of the things that is outstanding on another member of the team is the reintroduction of the pester tests for the entire Chocolatey codebase. So that we're going to have a new suite of integration tests that are run every time. So there are unit tests just now for certain parts of Chocolatey, but the end-to-end integration testing isn't there currently, or not for everything, not the way we want it to be. So that's a high-level item on a team member to get that done at some point. So now I'm going to do git checkout. Now I'm doing this. Which branch am I targeting? I've taken this off the master branch. So git checkout master, git fetch upstream. Oh, no, I'll definitely try it Well, I might not try it locally because there's a lot of things on that XML file that I'll probably try it on a smaller version of the file. Git fetch upstream, so I'm going to do a git rebase upstream. I can't type and talk. Upstream master, git push origin, git checkout. It was called feature something, wasn't it? Feature 357. Git rebase on master. Oh, that would be a merge conflict, wouldn't it? Git merge tool. I bet it's that expansion file. Why? What? Why did I change the NuGet service? Concurrent dictionary? What now? Oh, I'm so confused. Lots of conversation going on in the chat room. With a container, you could install, export pretty easy. Absolutely, you could do that, and you could do that today. There is a Chocolatey Docker container that you could spin up. The slight issue with that is that not all. So the things that I've got in this list here, not all of those would work on a Docker container because Docker is headless, essentially a headless application, a headless thing that doesn't have any UI. So I would suspect that some of these things would not install properly on that Docker container. I could be wrong, but I would suspect that some of them might not install correctly. But the theory goes that yes, you would be able to do that. Why have I got a... I don't think I've changed the NuGet service. So why is that giving me a merge conflict on that? So very confused. Or was it a white space change? I bet it was a white space change. Diff. Oh, look at that. Oh, I tabbed it over and changed the white space. That's annoying. So what has happened here? All I did was add the white space, but so I fixed these things and it's accepted those, I think, as my change. My change B, so my changes are C. So it's accepted C, it's accepted B through there. So what's it done? Fine. And then here's the merge conflict. The merge conflict is that I tabbed it over and made it consistent, but then somebody else has added configuration and results. So I'm going to say that B. Just make it B. I think that's all we need then. Let's see if that continues. Let's the rebase continue. Git rebase. Git rebase continue. Merge tool again. Beautiful. Rebase continue. Oh, God, I love it. Oh, now it's a tab expansion. So what's happened here? So in this one, somebody's added optimize, and I've added export. So really, we want both. We want both So let's put in B, and then let's go to the end of B and put back in my export. So over here, let's put back in export, which is the one that I added. And then let's have a look at the next merge conflict, which is this one. So in this one, somebody's added optimize, and I've added export. So this one we want B and C. Nope, B and C. And in this one, they've added the quotes, so I will add the quotes too. Beautiful. So let's close that. And then let's do rebase continue one more time. Whew, finally. So now we are well out of whack with what's up on Origin, but that's fine. Let's have a look and see what GitEx is saying, because I'll need to draw this to a close soon. So I want to take that rebase. So let's do one more rebase. Git rebase minus I on master. And let's just fix up that one. And then, so that it goes into one commit. And then we should have corrected white space. Beautiful. We have change modifier for method. So that's why I was in there. Yep. So I changed it to changed it from a private to a public, which is fine. Get all installed packages. Oh, and then we needed to add it to the interface. Yes, did that. And then here was all the work for the export command itself. Now we're ready to push this up. So we get push origin. We're going to need to do a -f because we rebased it. That's me pushing to my fork. And then the only other thing that I need to do, and I can hopefully do this before end of this session, if we go over here and look at Chocolatey Choco on my repository, then actually Manfred fixed a spelling mistake. So I want to merge this into my branch. I'm not going to do it through here because this is probably now not going to work, but we can do a git fetch origin pull head of 1 into a branch called PR1, git checkout PR1. Didn't work. Oh, fatal, couldn't find pull head. Have I got that wrong? Pull origin, pull. Oh, it's the wrong way around. Pull one head PR1. There we go. Git checkout PR1. Better. And then git rebase this on feature there. Git merge tool. 0 conflicts. Merge conflict on, we said it was B, didn't we? Let's just copy what we did before. Rebase that one there. Fatal, it seems there's already a rebase apply. Oh, give me 2 secs. So really what I was wanting to do, I should have been doing a rebase continue at this point. Continue. Can't type. Applying, no changes. Did you forget an add? Possibly. Or I want to skip. I think it's because it doesn't have that change anymore. merge tool. This is turning into more work than was actually necessary. Well, let's do it anyway. Merge tool. Oh, really? No, you know what? I'm not even going to bother doing that because that's turning into too much work. There's a lot more merge conflicts than need to be in there. So let's do no, and let's do a git rebase abort git checkout feature. And then what we'll do instead is we'll just make the change that oh, I see why. Because you need to rebase. It's actually just one typo, but I now forget what it was. Fix typos in here. It was a one-off in, and this one we said that one we're not doing, but it was on. So if I do a search for those packages onto, let's do this. Reload all, sure. Come on, computer, keep up with me. Onto, the suggestion was that this should be onto a new machine, which is there, and then I'm going to say add that and rebase it. And then let's do that again. So we're going to get rebase interactive on. You could do an interactive rebase, dropping the commits that don't include the typo. I could have done that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to rebase that change that I made, and then I'm going to amend the commit message to have Manfred as a co-author, and then give him credit where credit's due. That's what I'm going to do. So let's do master. I'm going to edit this one. It's just going to be E, and then this one's going to be an F. Yes. And then hopefully someone is going to remind me what the co-author thing is. Co-author commit message. I know I've done it before, but I can't remember what it was. What project were we working on when we did that? And I'll need Manfred's private thing, private email address, so that it'll flow through as well. Stopped at, you can now amend it with, yes, git commit, amend. Can do the GitHub username. Oh, can I? Let's do that then. So let's put this in here. So I'm going to say that this is going to be Manfred Wallner. So I just want to copy that part. Do I not need to include the email address though? Yes, I think I do. Don't I? Or can I want to put the... I know I've done this. Yes, the private one. So what's the format of it? That's the one. Thank you, Matthias. If I take that and put this in here, that needs to be in quotes. So let's do copy quote Manfred Wallner at users no reply. So it's co-authored by that. Yes. So if I do that and save that, now we can continue. Why is that? Beautiful. So now over here, we should have an export command here that is co-authored by Manfred, and it will include that. So now we can do a git push origin -f again. Why not in quotes? I thought it was in quotes. Don't tell me that. There was quotes there. I saw quotes. Oh, that's for the commit message in its entirety. Dang it! Thank you. So let's do this one more time. Git commit amend. I knew there was something around it. So angle brackets, right? Okay, I'm going to wait for a yes or a no before saving it this time. Is that what I want? Co-authored by Manfred at users.noreply.github.com. Someone say yes. Beautiful. Thank you, Kim. Okay. Git push origin -f. Beautiful. So that should flow through there. And then if we go over here to Chocolatey Choco, the export command should have been updated. And this is good, couple of things. And then I'm going to sign in so I can comment over here. I'm going to need to find my email address, not my email address, my GitHub password. Let's go over here and say copy, paste that into there, and do this. And then I'm probably going to need that. And I'm never quite sure whether you're allowed to see these things or not, so I'm Can I have... No. I probably should have put you all on this because so commits. So we have corrected white space and we have this one that doesn't have what the fuck? Oh, was I looking at the wrong one? I think I was looking at the wrong one. This one has 3 commits, one of which has Manfred. Now, I'm specifically including Manfred in this because he was the PR, but I should probably have you other guys in there as well. But for this one, because it's not my repo, if you like, I'm just going to put Manfred in for this one. So that's the export command been updated. I noticed that the build failed, but I'm going to assume that was just App Harbor getting confused at the fact that we removed the head. But let's have a quick look and see. Nested build failed. Interesting. We never actually built it locally. So we might actually have a failed build there. We'll also just kick this off again, shall we? I'll do that. I'll trigger that. So I need to wrap this up. So anyway, we've got an export command that has everything I think we want in it. It'll need to get reviewed again by Rob, but I think we're in a position where things are getting ready now. So I think that's the export command finished. For Monday night stream, I mentioned this at the start of the stream, but for those that weren't here, Monday night stream, we're going to be doing some Ruby coding. That's right. We're going to be doing some Ruby coding. I'm going to be adding some additional stuff into the Chef infra client. So while I was at ChefConf last week, I did a pull request to include an additional resource for Chef, which was to control chocolate features as part of your recipes and cookbooks. So what we're going to be doing on Monday night is extending the existing resource for chocolatey sources to allow passing in additional parameters for controlling whether a source is admin only and so on. So I'm going to be trying to do some Ruby coding around that. Absolutely. And for those of you that know me, I don't do Ruby. I've never done Ruby before. The pull request that I did, which was accepted, was completely essentially copied and pasted from an existing resource and just made to work specifically for the chocolate feature. So now I'm going to need to extend an existing resource to include some additional parameters. I'm hoping it's not going to be too difficult, but yeah, Ruby. That's where it's at. I'm going to be doing some of that. And I'm hopefully going to get that in before the actual Chef client gets released. There's a reasonably high cadence of Chef client releases, but I want to get that change in for this next release as well. But I expect you to be wearing a chef's hat. No. What I will point out is what I pointed out again at the start of the stream, is that in keeping with my theme of contributing to open source projects, I can now say that I contribute to Chocolatey, I contribute to Cake, and I contribute to Chef. And Chef has a supermarket full of recipes that includes, if none other than Chocolatey. So I don't know why, but I seem drawn to these food-related projects. So yeah, Chocolatey cakes with chefs available in supermarkets and recipes and all sorts of good things. So on that note, I'm going to say that I'm done for today. So thank you for coming along. And yes, I will be the chef who is creating a chocolatey cake. I think I can handle that. So no, thank you for coming along. I'll fix that build at some point, but I think we're finished with this export command for now. And with that, I'm going to say, talk to you later. Bye bye.